everyone. On this
Maya
auspicious occasion of great pride and honor, I take immense thanks to 47 the first Prime Minister of India, Jawaharlal Nehru, in one of his famous speech, Christ with Destiny said, at the stroke of midnight, the world will sleep and India will wake up live and freedom. 73 glorious years of independence, and as we celebrate the 70th may I now request our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Vinod Kumar Jain, to hoist the tricolor. It shall be followed by the national anthem. I request all members of audience to sing in unison our national anthem.
Rashtriya Salute! Salute! भारत माता के भारत माता के भारत माता के
Greetings to everyone on this pious occasion of 74th Independence Day of our country. For the first time after independence, due to this unprecedented situation in the country, we are celebrating the Independence Day in somewhat muted manner, and not with the usual fervor and enthusiasm which we are accustomed to. And as you would attest to the ongoing crisis, not only within our country but around the rest of the world, the crisis is twofold. It's both a health crisis as well as an economic crisis. Unlike in 2008 and 2009, when the entire world went through a serious economic crisis, this one is somewhat more serious. It has practically disrupted all aspects of our functioning, not only within our country but in the rest of the world too. There are actually some estimates which suggest that the world economy is going to shrink by nearly 5%. Although some economists would contest that figure, but this is one school of thought that the world economy, that is the GDP, is going to shrink by nearly 5%. And since all the countries are now more or less interdependent, interconnected, the economies are interconnected, so India is not going to be insulated the way perhaps it was in 2008 and 9. Somehow, back then, our country was not that much troubled by the crisis. But this time, because of this twin crisis, health as well as the economy, the country is going through some very, very turbulent and difficult times. Friends, India would have done well if this crisis was not there, because the statistics suggested that if there was a 7% growth, as it was the case, 7 or 8% growth in recent years, it would have continued for another 25 years. The country would have come out of this hole of poverty. In India wouldn't have any single case of people below poverty line. That was the estimate of some of the policy makers. But now, as the things stand today, if the world economy is going to shrink by 5%, Indian economy also would be hugely impacted. And some people are even forecasting that there might be even a negative economic growth. That is, of course, going to have very serious implications for the livelihood and the well-being for the people. At the moment, the way things are due to this COVID situation, whatever you suggest to tackle one problem, the other gets impacted. For example, if you have series of lockdowns, you take care of your health. You try to ensure that people's health is taken care of, but then the economy takes a hit. And then to revive economy, you suggest these huge welfare measures, these economic packages which are given to the SMEs, MSMEs, and to some of the sections in our country who deserve it. But in the long run, these packages are not going to be sustainable. And as things stand today, suppose this crisis takes about 2 years to get back to normal, or at least the economy takes about 2 years to get back to the pre-COVID levels. In the interim, the country is going to face serious challenges with regard to the livelihood, with regard to all types of governance and functioning of various sectors. Having said that, the world community, although in some measure they have come together, but still that unity among the nations is still not so visible. And it's very unfortunate. For example, even for the developing the vaccine, each country is in kind of a race to establish their supremacy. Supremacy of their scientific know-how, or supremacy of their R&D, or their capabilities in R&D. Nobody is thinking of that let us develop a vaccine which is for public good, which is for common good. All the countries or the multinationals in different countries or different R&D labs are pursuing one agenda. Who develops the vaccine first? And in a situation when countries may not be cooperating, already there are protectionist measures in different countries, already they are being put in place. America is doing it, a lot of European countries are doing it. And even the Chinese are doing it. And what is there for the developing economies? And that's why the countries like India, who are this emerging phase of development, they need to be self-reliant. The Prime Minister's call to make India self-reliant in that context is very crucial. As far as the higher education institutions are concerned, if you look at this call for self-reliance, this NEP which has been announced recently, which is also a part of that larger picture. This NEP, some of you might have gone through this blueprint, which is to bring about reforms, not only in the academics, but also in the administration, in the finance, and everything else you have to do with the higher education system. And that is going to pose a lot of challenge for all of us. In NEP, there are some very positive points, like 6% GDP to be invested in higher education or in complete education at all levels. So higher education will also be a beneficiary of that investment by the government. But at the same time, there are a lot of structural changes which are mentioned in this NEP. Our universities will have to be ready to bring about those changes in line with NEP. That's where the challenge is for us. Already, some of you, in fact, the faculty and the students are adjusting, or they have adjusted, they carried out their teaching, learning, and examination through this online mode. But this is here to stay. This experiential learning, face-to-face learning is going to be blended now with the digital mode of learning. We are in our university trying to augment the digital infrastructure, but the issues of quality remain in this online mode of teaching and learning. There are some concerns being expressed by quite a few faculty members about the quality of teaching learning as well as the way we evaluate. Nevertheless, we have to adjust with the new situation. And in this context, I would request all of you to pull up your socks, because the university has slipped in recent times. Our performance on research publications, grants, patents has left much to be desired, and therefore it is important that we work hard and live up to the expectations and the reputation of this university. So with these words, and finally, I would like to end this brief address by paying sincere tribute to all those who have sacrificed their life in Galwan Valley or elsewhere in J&K to ensure that our country's border remains secure. With the hope that India in years to come would be secure, stable, peaceful and strong. I greet you once again. Thank you. charity.
Thank you so much, sir, for your enlightening words. As has rightly been pointed out by sir, the world is going through some unprecedented times, and we can sincerely hope normalcy returns soon. Until then, we can try for the welfare and development of the nation. That's the best we can offer right now. With this, we come to the end of today's program. I express my deep sense of gratitude to the August gathering for their kind presence and all associated with today's program in making it a success. Thank you so much. Once again, I wish you all a very happy Independence Day. Thank you.